Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Activate. My name is Patrick Hein.
And I'm Nate McCarrick. This is technically a pre-recorded segment that you're watching today, but what we are doing and the demonstrations that we're going to be doing are happening in real time as we're filming them. You'll see us doing some crazy stuff with some other QSC employees across the world, so hopefully this will still be just as engaging, even though it's not actually live.
I would like to introduce the President and COO of Q-SYS and QSC, Mr. Jatin Shah.
Thank you, Patrick. Before we begin, I want to reflect on a recent loss that our industry woke up to yesterday. We lost our beloved friend, Brad Susa, CTO of AVI Systems. Brad was an iconic leader, an inspiration to generations. Visionary, he loved technology. And on top of that, he was an absolute fantastic human being. He sat on the Avixa board with me for the last few years, so it goes without saying that he was also a very close friend of mine, and also our Q-SYS family. I want to offer our support and condolences to his wife, Janelle, and his family, and everyone at AVI Systems. Brad, we miss you already, and I'm going to be my best to make you proud today. Today, we are going to show you how AI, AV technology, and Q-SYS platform come together to redefine what's possible for live events, collaboration, higher education, and more. It is a hybrid world now. How we connect and collaborate has changed permanently, with a growing expectations for seamlessly blended remote and in-person experiences. Collaborators want dynamic, engaging experiences that captivate and inspire, with intelligent AV automation that's flexible and scalable, ultimately bringing us closer, and that without technology getting in the way. At Q-SYS, we see this as an opportunity to go beyond the ordinary, to reimagine the office, the lecture hall, and more spaces, to embrace new technologies such as AI in ways that are not simply bolted on, but rather in locksteps with a standard-based platform approach, and to engage an ecosystem of partners to unlock the potential of every space. This is what we've always done with Q-SYS. So what are you going to see today? First of all, we are proud to provide an exciting update on a partnership we announced earlier this year with Lenovo and reveal the details of our new UC Compute Bundle for Microsoft Teams rooms. It will allow customers to buy the entire AV Room suite directly from Q-SYS, including Q-SYS core processor, UC compute device and touchscreen, along with their choices of loudspeakers, camera, all of it, and all from a single provider. We'll also show you brand new expansions to the native Q-SYS products, giving you even more options at the edge while continuing to deliver value at the software layer. And lastly, and probably the most exciting of all, will be some of the first to see how Q-SYS combines advanced PTZ camera technology, AI-based presenter tracking technology, and integrated control. We call it Q-SYS Vision Suite. It not only combines the idea that Q-SYS is creating value with the continued evolution of our platform, but also capturing value by bringing in the best of outside creativity and advanced technologies like AI. With that, I'll hand it back over to our host.
All right, thank you so much, John. All right, let's dive into Vision Suite, which is effectively a holistic approach to hybrid experiences to capture all of the nuances and subtleties of your meeting or collaboration space.
Now, we know that no two collaboration spaces are identical. Every single one is unique and has its own idiosyncrasies when it comes to install, but they do all share some common functionalities. Some things that you might discover are going to be true for various different types of install. So the Vision Suite we're talking about will really be tailored to 4 different types of use cases, and we're going to talk about those specifically. Also, let's think about the tools that are in our toolkits to make all this happen. First, toolkit is the NC series of network cameras. Those are part of the integrated cameras, the Q-SYS solution. Next is the ACPR plugin. That's the automatic camera preset recall plugin paired with auto framing that works within that plugin. We'll talk all about that, as well as the SeerVision presenter tracking, what we were just referring to. We'll spend a lot of time on that and how that can monitor the stage in a collaboration space. And then finally, we'll talk about Q-SYS Control, how you can take all of the things that Q-SYS is already doing and controlling around the room and integrate all of this together to make this just one giant experience.
We're going to take a deeper dive on each of these four, but the main crux of what we're hoping to give you today is to show you how these forces combine to really create that hybrid experience. And what we're going to be today, and you in the audience, is the far end of a typical collaboration call. And we are going to be beaming back and forth between the near end, which is going to be in our Austin Training Center in Texas. So actually, let's make sure that they're on the call. I'd like to introduce you to Mr. Kevin Rodas. Hi, Kevin, how's it going?
Good, we're doing great down here. I'm in our training room here in our Austin Experience Center. I've got some friends from Q-SYS to help me out, and we're really excited to show off the Q-SYS Vision Suite today. Obviously, primary benefit of it is that far end experience, so we are going to be acting out as best as we can, our meeting in here and delivering to you guys that far end.
Kevin said as best as you can. I want to put a disclaimer that everybody in the studio with Kevin and actually here today are Q-SYS employees, so give some leniency and clemency to the acting that you're going to see. We do so to only serve to show you the features. We're not going to be looking to win an Academy Award today, but in that case, let's actually see what that room looks like.
Disagree. I'm going for the awards. Okay, so this is what the Austin room looks like. I know we're going to see it live, but let's take just a little virtual tour of it first, just so you are aware of all the technology that's in the room that's making this possible. First of all, we are using NC series cameras, as I mentioned already. A couple of those are paired at the front of the room to look backwards at all of the students in the audience area. We are also using a beam-forming microphone up in the sky. That is our partner, Sennheiser. It's a TCC2 microphone there to get positional data on all the people in the room as they speak. For audio in the room, we're using acoustic design loudspeakers up in the sky. We are also using our NV series of network video endpoints to distribute HDMI from any source to the destinations and displays on the walls. And then there's also one more space on the side over there, house left, stage right, that is going to be a whiteboard. In the actual space, it's a bunch of acrylic certificates, which you'll see in a shot in just a little bit. But basically, this is a secondary space that an instructor might choose to walk over to. We'll see how we can deal with different areas like that. If we flip the camera around, we can see that there are two more NC series cameras mounted on the rear wall. We're using those to keep an eye on the presenter and a couple of other things which we'll talk about momentarily.
We're talking a lot about those cameras, so it seems like a good place to start. It's the first pillar in our Vision Suite. So effectively, what NC Series does is solve the problem of geography in the room. And what I'm speaking explicitly to is the idea of traditional limitations that come with USB cameras. So there's length limitations. There are point-to-point limitations because that, it only means that generally there's one camera in the room in a general USB scenario. Q-SYS solves that with the network. So all of our cameras are PoE network-based, which means that you can distribute them anywhere on the network. It also means that you can send them to different places in a divisible room scenario. It also means that, as a programmer, because they are native pieces in the platform, you can create very complex video matrices without ever having to touch a piece of script.
If you're not familiar with the models already, there are three models in this series. There is the NC12x80 and the NC20x60. Both of those are PTZ cameras, so you can pan, tilt, zoom them in. The numbers on there have to do with the field of view and the depth of zoom that they have available. There's also the NC110. The NC110 is an ePTZ camera with a fixed lens. That one just a 4K image, and then you can move the image around whichever you want to send to the far end. Sometimes these cameras are all you need. In a small meeting room, you could put up one of these cameras, maybe one or two of them, and that'll be fine. It's sort of a set it and forget it experience. But that's for a smaller meeting room. And in Austin, our room is a little bit more complex. We want to make this a more dynamic experience for the far end caller. We've probably all been on a conference call sometime where there's a lot of people on the other side, and you're presented with this really wide shot and a bunch of little tiny faces, and you can't make out anyone's expressions because they had to make that shot wide in order to cover the entire place. That's not a very enjoyable experience for you on the far end. We want the far end to have a dynamic experience, something that's going to make them feel like they are in the room and they get to participate with everyone who's talking as the presenters go to every possible space in that room. Now, that could be solved by a camera operator. You could have someone manually choosing different camera options and zooming in and panning out. If you're driving the system that way, that is a solution, but wouldn't it be nice if it did it for you, if we could automate that? That's the goal we're trying to accomplish here. We're trying to give an automated experience that no one has to touch and lets everyone on the far end fully participate in that space. So the first tool that's going to make this happen for us is, as I mentioned earlier, ACPR. Automatic Camera Preset Recall. This is a plugin where if someone is speaking in the room, here we've got someone at the table raising their hand, asking a question. We've got our beamforming microphone up in the sky, and it is able to use positional data to understand where that person is speaking in the room. It uses that data and the coordinates that it gets from it to send a trigger to our cameras to choose which presets should be loaded to get that person in frame. So when the system is being commissioned, your designers are making sure that they are setting up camera angles that cover every single possible space a person could be speaking from, and then we're recalling that to make sure that when someone speaks, they're the ones that are now presented to the far end. So that's Automatic Camera Preset Recall. We're going to see it live in action on its own first. So let's go to Austin and turn on ACPR, please.
Awesome. So as we can see, it's starting out in a wide shot, and as I start talking, ACPR is going to recognize I'm in this zone and pull the camera up nice and tight to a shot of just the instructor desk. So it's a lot easier to see what I'm saying.
And as I offer Kevin some well-deserved words of encouragement, go Kevin, good job. ACPR has switched cameras and is now facing on my side of the room.
Caitlin, if I didn't know any better, I'd say you're pandering to Kevin to get a little bit of screen time. Can't blame you there. If you notice the switching that occurred there, you got a clean cut over to me rather than a repositioning of a camera. Pretty cool, huh?
Totally. Each zone is assigned a primary camera, but if it's busy, the ACPR plugin will enlist the second camera to hit that zone instead, just as you saw when it cut to me.
And if the far end person starts speaking, which in this case is me, then ACPR in their room will figure out that no one in the room is the source of that audio, and it'll cut to a nice wide shot that covers everyone, so we're not stuck staring at Jeff just because he was the last person to speak before I started talking. So that's ACPR. You saw it work in action, it worked fine, but you may have noticed that the shots we established were still relatively wide, right? I was just talking about how you don't want to have a super wide shot and small faces in there, and we could have cropped that a little bit tighter in that one. Well, by design, we had to, because if we're not doing any zooming or cropping, we have to leave it wide because humans, if you've ever met one before, tend to do all kinds of human things. Like they like to wander around. And if you're me, you like to sway constantly, or you kick back in your chair, or you sit down not quite where you're supposed to. We gotta have a shot wide enough to accommodate for that human stuff. But we can then turn on auto framing. Auto framing is going to help us out with that human stuff. First of all, auto framing will detect the faces in the shots and then provide you a nice tighter crop around those faces based on your own preferences. Beyond that, it also counts the number of faces. So if someone enters the frame or leaves the frame, here we've got someone leaving the frame. That's clearly Ellie Sattler from Jurassic Park. She said something very knowledgeable about ancient herbs and stuff that he didn't understand, so he left. She is now the only face in auto framing, right? So it moved over and cropped in on her because it detected there's only one face. We've got this dynamic choice of how many faces are there and giving us a better shot when we have those faces available. That is auto framing, and we're gonna see that in action now as well. So back to you, Austin. Would you please turn on auto framing so we can see that in action?
Yep, so here I am back at my desk. But we've got auto framing on, so we can see it pulled it in, and I stepped off to the side a little, and so it centered me right in this shot.
That's right. Now, if I start talking, not only will Q-SYS switch to the camera automatically thanks to ACPR, it will also auto-frame me in the center, or us in the center of the image as well.
Yeah, I wanted to highlight that the auto framing is constantly searching for and counting the faces in the frame, and then adjusting accordingly. So right now you see a frame shot with Caitlin and I. There's two of us. It detects two faces, so it's pulled back on the digital zoom. However, in a moment, I'm going to walk away, and what's going to happen is it's going to notice one person in the frame and then adjust and adapt to the padding of the shot.
And not only is that analytics happening at the camera, but we're transmitting that person number back into Q-SYS as a control. So we can use that to build automation into our room. If it detects nobody in a room with a meeting, we can go ahead and turn the lights off or end the call. If there detects too many people in the room, we can use that to trigger an alert through Reflect Enterprise Manager.
It's the most challenging thing about a scenario like this, which is presenter tracking. So like in a remote training environment, you want the presenter not to be nailed to the floor at the podium. You want him to be able to walk around and pontificate and, address questions. Or in a collaboration experience, maybe you want to go to the whiteboard and take some notes and then return to your seat. The moral of this story is you want to be able to capture all of those things and might be outside of the watchful eye of a stationary predetermined scenario. So that's why a couple months ago, Q-SYS acquired a company called SeerVision. Now, what SeerVision is, in a nutshell, is an AI accelerator that leverages computer vision-based scene analysis and full body analysis to automatically follow and frame a presenter. Now, I'm not talking about just regular old, facial tracking, and there are a lot of facial tracking solutions out there. I'm talking about a step above. We are doing full body analysis that is tracking things like my height and my clothing and my hair and my facial movements. And it's synthesizing all of that in order to give me a full body experience that's gonna allow me to overcome some of the limitations of just facial features. Like if I were to turn around and I walk across, the camera isn't losing me because it has other data points from which to drive that camera. Now, let's shoot back over to Kevin in Austin and see this in a real space.
SeerVision has recalled a wide shot on our camera, and when I walk right up into our presentation area, we're gonna see SeerVision detects me automatically, zooms on in, and frames up that shot. And now it's built that skeletal model of myself. One of the cool parts about SeerVision is we don't need the entire model to track. So as I go behind the desk, it's going to continue to track me. If I were to have my face covered, or if I were to turn around backwards, it's still going to keep tracking me based off that model it built of myself. And when I'm done presenting, I simply just walk right out of the presentation area, and it will automatically recall that wide shot and wait for the next presenter to come walk into the room.
Let's talk a little bit about the signal path that's involved for this video connection. The SeerVision server is IP-based, much like every single Q-SYS device that you're probably already used to commissioning. That means there's only a single network connection, a Cat5 cable from the switch to the server to make that connection possible. Now, SeerVision does not actually change the video once it receives it. It's not taking the video, doing something to it, and then passing it back to Q-SYS. So you don't need to worry about anything like adding latency to the video path because of this. You don't worry about any degradation in the video quality as SeerVision does what it's going to do, because that's not what it's going to do. What SeerVision does is it accepts that video input, and then it uses the information as it analyzes the scene and just sends control data back to the Q-SYS cameras to move them around. So, rest assured, we are not interrupting the video path that normally exists with our cameras for a normal installation. Andrew?
Let's take a look at what the trigger zones look like on the back end. Now, as our subject walks from the green to the red, these are two different zones, and we have pre-programmed two different behaviors in this area. Now, it's still able to track between these two different areas, but we've identified in that red zone that we wanted a closer shot there because for whatever reason, she's near the screen and we want to see the screen and a tighter shot on the head versus if she's pulled out and she's, walking around the room, we want that a little wider. So we can do that kind of scene triggering with not just the single presenter camera, but you can also trigger other cameras to switch. Now here's a scenario up here on the wall that's showing a presenter that's walking over to our whiteboard scenario. And that whiteboard is not at the best angle to show what he's writing or doing. And so we've triggered, once he gets into that zone, a different camera to capture that moment. Now let's take a look at this use case. We call this use case single presenter plus static view. Kevin, take us away.
Awesome, yeah. So like I said, we are in our training room here in Austin. So I'm gonna come over to our lovely wall of training classes that we offer out of here. And we can see Seer Vision automatically took our NC12 by 80 we have on the far end of the room. One of the cool things about this is that camera doesn't need to be attached to the Seer Vision server. Our main camera saw I walked into this zone we set up, and automatically switched away to that camera. And when I step right out of that zone, it's going to seamlessly just switch right back to the tracking camera and pick up right where it left off.
Great. All right, let's go to use case number 3. This use case is going to start combining presenter tracking with a topic that Nate already covered, which was ACPR. Now, in this scenario, we've got our same presenter, and somebody asks a question in the audience. So the system is using that audio data from that ceiling microphone to identify that somebody is talking, and then trigger away from presenter tracking to ACPR. And then transversely, once that question has been asked and the presenter starts talking again, it switches back to presenter mode. Kevin, let's take a look at that use case.
So here I am, and I'm going to throw it over to Jen to talk a little bit about Seer Vision.
Great, thanks, Kevin. So as you can see, Seer Vision technology works right alongside ACPR. The camera is switching away from presenter mode over to me based off of my voice, and then when my friend Coy here gets up to go grab me some water, auto-framing is going to jump right in and identify that he's left, and then it's going to frame up a tighter shot on me.
And when I start talking again, ACPR is going to drive right back to the Seer Vision tracking camera. Now, the beauty of this is that tracking camera is always tracking even when I'm not speaking. So as you notice, I moved over when Jen and Coy were talking, and it continued to follow me. So I never got lost during that interaction.
All right, let's take a look at one more use case, which is when you have multiple presenters. Remember, we had those 2 cameras in the back of the room earlier, and there's 2 cameras there, even though we've only been using one camera to track the presenter as they're walking back and forth. So what's going on there? Well, one of those cameras, even though it's providing a nice tight shot of the presenter, the other one is keeping a wide shot of the entire room. And this is the conductor cam. The conductor cam is watching the stage regardless of what that single presenter camera is doing to find out whether or not another presenter might be entering the stage, a multi-presenter situation. And if that's the case, then this is different than auto framing, right? This is different than just trying to make sure I have both faces in view on that single cam. This is when the entire stage needs to be monitored for when someone else walks on stage off cam. So the conductor cam will detect another presenters on the stage and then trigger whatever you want to have happen. Maybe you want to have the single presenter camera pull back and get the entire shot again. Maybe you want to toggle and just use the conductor cam's feed itself as your new angle. Whatever it is you want to have happen, that's what's going to happen when you have the conductor cam detecting multiple people on stage. And obviously when one person leaves and we detect that there's only a single person left in the presentation trigger area, then it returns to its normal operation when there's a single presenter. So let's take a look at multiple presenters in Austin in action.
Yeah, so I noticed earlier, one of our Q-SYS guys on our screen resembles one of our audience members. Coy, why don't you come on up and let's see if everybody can tell our shocking resemblance we have between Coy and Q-SYS guy who's giving his mustache Oscar a run for the money.
Some mustache competition going on here.
Yeah, we do. Thank you, Coy. And so you'll see when it went to Coy, it went out to a wide shot, and now it's pulling right back in and just picking up tracking on me once he leaves that area.
All right, we're gonna take one last look at trigger zones and trigger events. Here's a quick snapshot that we took of the different trigger zones in the Austin Training Center. And I wanted to point out that fridge in the right-hand corner. And I do so because I want to tell you that not only can you use these trigger zones and these trigger areas to trigger camera-based activities to happen, but because you have at your disposal the full might of the control engine that's integrated into that core processor, it means that you can effectively use vision to trigger almost anything. So if you wanted a scenario where, you know, the presenter, you want the presenter's lighting to change when he walks in a specific area, you can do that with a given trigger zone. You can also have a scenario where that person walks in front of a display and then that display automatically turns on. Effectively, you can use that control engine to do whatever you can imagine as long as it's connected to Q-SYS, regardless of how juvenile that might be. And that kind of brings me to the very last scenario here. I'm gonna put a disclaimer out. We're not recommending that you do this. Obviously, cameras don't work in the dark, and there's really no useful application for what you're about to see aside from making me smile every time I watch it. So, Kevin, if you don't mind, can you show us what that looks like?
So we've enabled a trigger zone here on our display. And when I come up, we see now it caused the video to pop up. We had Q-SYS girl come up and she's telling me, hey, I need to go get a drink. Sounds like you're getting a little raspy in the voice. So I'm going to go over to that bridge zone and trigger it.
Did you just?
Right. So that is Vision Suite. Let's dive into another topic, which is commissioning services, which are being paired with the first few systems that come out with Vision Suite. So I'd like to invite Ed Vieser, who runs our professional services group in the US. Thank you for being here, Ed.
Hey, Patrick.
Let's talk a little bit about the thought process behind why Q-SYS has decided to pair commissioning services with the first systems for Seer Vision.
When our customers choose to include Seer Vision with their Q-SYS system, they're choosing to enhance the way people experience a conference-enabled, high-impact space. Q-SYS Professional Services' job is to provide an assurance that that experience is being met. So not just the way that end users experience the technology, but we also aim to enhance the customer experience that our dealers have with this new technology.
But this is not a forever state, right? We're not going to be making all of the systems forever be paired with a commissioning service. This is just in the beginning. So talk to me about how that transition might occur and a timeline that's associated with that.
You bet. Yeah, we actually expect to see commissioning engineers out there in the world autonomously commissioning Seer Vision as early as February. Now, that's completely contingent on the complete rollout of the Q-SYS Vision Suite training curriculum. So Q-SYS Professional Services is coming up on its third year in the US, where we've basically got a philosophy where we ask our customers, work alongside us, learn from us, consider it on-the-job training, and take our approach to Lua scripting and UCI design and bring it to your next job. That's actually a huge win for us when folks feel empowered to take on more and more complex Q-SYS work. We are so excited to take the exact same philosophy to AI-assisted video. So we want to give you an early advantage to ensure that the utilization of tracking zones and trigger zones is flawlessly executed until that training rollout is complete, and then you're free to not require factory assistance, but we will continue to be here if you want us.
Yeah, and you said it earlier, you're manning the US operation for professional services, but the way that we roll out professional services around the world is slightly nuanced and different. So how is that going to work across the globe?
Well, I encourage anybody who wants to have a deeper conversation about scheduling, commissioning, and all the touch points that are going to occur once you do so, find us in a breakout room after this session. And for folks who are in the UK and Germany, the other regions where Seer Vision is available, please contact your regional sales representation. You'll find that a commissioning service is tailored for your region's needs as well.
Last thing that everybody, I'm sure, is wondering, when can they get not only Seer Vision-based solutions, but also the paired commissioning service?
So presenter tracking along with factory commissioning is something we're going to be rolling out in January.
Cool. For those of you that might want to get a deeper dive and a deeper demo than what we showed here today, this link, Q-SYS.com/Vision Suite Demo, is actually going to be going live at about 12 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So if you'd like to schedule a demo in the regions that we're offering Seer Vision and Vision Suite demonstrations, go to that link, sign up for a time, and enjoy the demo. Thank you so much, Ed. I really appreciate it. I'm going to welcome to the stage Mr. Josh Arnold, who is going to be giving us an update on an announcement that we gave a couple months ago.
All right, thanks, Patrick.
Yeah.
All right, so earlier this year, we announced a collaboration with Lenovo, and today we're excited to bring you the details of our first solution that makes it simpler to deliver end-to-end certified Microsoft Teams room systems for high-impact collaboration spaces with Q-SYS. The Q-SYS UC Compute Bundle for Microsoft Teams Room brings best-in-class Lenovo compute capabilities to the Q-SYS portfolio and is focused on simplifying the design, procurement, and integration process. The bundle consists of the Q-SYS UC Compute device. This is a Lenovo ThinkSmart Core Compute that has an Intel Core i5 processor and hosts the Microsoft Teams Room experience. A Q-SYS UC controller. This is a CAT-connected 10.1-inch touchscreen controller with integrated HDMI ingest, providing both Microsoft Teams meeting room controls and support for customizable Q-SYS room controls. To streamline control integration with Q-SYS, a new Microsoft Teams Room integration feature license is included in the bundle. This license supports up to 4 user control interfaces and 8 plugins or scripts, and can be activated on any Q-SYS core processor. Lastly, the bundle also includes 1 year of IT deployment support. By pairing the new Q-SYS UC Compute Bundle with the largest collection of Microsoft Teams Room certified AV devices on the market, a complete Microsoft Teams Room system can be delivered from the Q-SYS portfolio. Now we'll take a closer look at how these products connect in a Q-SYS system. The HDMI output of the compute device delivers the front-of-room display content. This may be interfaced directly to a display or connected to a Q-SYS NV series encoder for video distribution within the space. The USB connection on the compute connects directly to a Q-SYS USB AV bridging interface to deliver both audio and camera content to and from the meeting. On the controller, an end user may connect their laptop display output directly to the integrated HDMI ingest port to share their content into the Microsoft Teams Rooms meeting. The controller is then extended up to 100 meters back to where the MTR compute is located by a CAT cable that interfaces to the link box. From the link box, the user's HDMI ingest content is interfaced from the controller back to the compute via HDMI, and the controller display is output via the USB connection. Now let's take a deeper look at a few application examples. In this example, we have a Q-SYS equipped boardroom with the Q-SYS UC Compute Bundle integrated. Here we are utilizing NV series encoders and decoders for additional content displays on the side of the room, with fully networked endpoints for mics, speakers, and cameras, allowing for flexible placement of the processing and scalability for the needs of the space. In this last example, we have a Q-SYS equipped boardroom with the Q-SYS UC Compute Bundle integrated. In addition to providing customizable Q-SYS room control in the signature Microsoft Teams room, we're also happy to announce that Q-SYS is now certified for spatial audio for Microsoft Teams, providing localized audio playback of the remote participants based on their location in the gallery. Not shown directly in this example, we are showing a direct wired output from the compute to the 21:9 front-of-room display. And it's worth noting in this example that while we're showing this direct connection, the NV series products operating as an encoder or decoder can be used with that 21:9 aspect ratio, really enabling that flexible placement of the display and compute. So that wraps up the overview. If there's any other questions, I'll see you in the breakout sessions.
Thank you so much, Josh.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, we're going to get a little bit of voice of the customer with a case study. We're going to switch gear and bring up Miss Bonnie Walker, who heads essentially a lot of the case studies that you've been seeing over the past year or so. Bonnie, take us through the latest, shall we?
Sure, absolutely. So today I am so excited to bring to you the story of Illinois College. This is a historic university out of the Midwest, founded in 1829, and they really are proving that small institutions can make a huge impact. And they've elected Q-SYS to be a part of their journey. So let's take a look. And let's welcome Jeremy Howen, Faculty Support and Educational Technology Specialist for Illinois College. Welcome, Jeremy.
Thank you for having me, Bonnie.
Absolutely. So we know that technology is playing an ever greater role in student and faculty experiences. Can you tell me a little bit about how Q-SYS is playing a part with that?
Sure. Q-SYS systems can currently be found in almost every single one of our academic buildings across campus. From utilizing redundant Core 610s in our newly renovated STEM building to all of our other classrooms where Q-SYS can be found, we've also integrated the NV32 as a truly flexible workhorse that's helped simplify our classroom infrastructure. The standardization of not only this physical equipment in the rooms, but also the user control interface has really helped to simplify the overall experience on campus. This has allowed our faculty the ability to enter consistent spaces where they can focus on their students and not the technology. We've tried really hard to create a campus where faculty aren't afraid to teach in new spaces, and the flexibility and the consistency makes it easier for that to happen.
So we saw in the introduction video a fantastic statistic of a 50% reduction in support tickets. Can you tell me a little bit on how you achieved that?
Absolutely. It has been a truly incredible start to our semester this year. Not only were we able to utilize the consistency of our systems to train our faculty out of one single room, but we've also been able to take advantage of the upgrade and the implementation of our Q-SYS systems to reduce our overall ticket count. Having these customized and really standardized classrooms allowed us to spend more time with the faculty training because we could focus it in on one room that covered all of the spaces across campus. And since we've had less tickets come in regarding classroom technologies, which is great, it's also allowed us to shift our focus to some of those tickets that we deemed less crucial, things that didn't have to do with the day-to-day operations of inside of the classrooms. This has really helped us to provide consistent and reliable solutions inside and outside the classrooms, and it means that the issues that do arise, we're able to resolve much easier as well.
But we do still live in reality, and you do still receive support tickets. So what are you doing to expedite those?
As you said, unfortunately, those tickets still exist. I wish it weren't the case. However, the Q-SYS infrastructure, and in particular, Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager, is a tool that I have been searching for since I started in this position. We've been able to leverage the Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager and also to work very closely with our integration partner, Pearl Technology, to actively monitor our systems. And with the Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager, it's allowed us the ability to not only see things as they're happening in real time and potentially get a jump on an issue before it becomes anything bigger, but it also allows us the opportunity that when something is happening, I can start the diagnosing process before I even leave my desk. Many times, and our faculty can attest to this, they find me walking across campus staring at my phone, and now I'm able to stare at my phone at the Reflect Enterprise Manager and be diagnosing that room as I walk to it to hopefully have a fix to put in place and get that room back functioning properly in a much shorter period of time.
Jeremy, thank you so much for giving your time for this. I wish we had more, but I cannot wait to see what is next for Illinois College.
Thank you, Bonnie.
Thank you, Bonnie. Thank you, Jeremy. All right, so we got a couple more announcements we want to go through really quickly. Just talking about Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager, or QREM, is a perfect transition to talk about the first one. We have some announcements and some exciting news about changes to QREM coming our way. So to talk about it, incoming is Jason Kelly, the Senior Product Marketing Manager for...
Cool, thank you very much, Nate. Yes. Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager, we do have a few exciting updates coming with the release next month of Q-SYS Designer version 9.10. So we're going to be addressing both security updates, and we're also going to be expanding our remote system management capabilities, all with the goal of making managing systems at scale much simpler. So the first feature I want to point out is that you're now going to be able to apply software patches without changing firmware on your Q-SYS systems. So this will include things like security updates or bug fixes. And of course, this is really ideal if you're not ready to upgrade your systems or want to ensure all your systems remain on the same version of Q-SYS Designer. At first, this will be for one system at a time, but we do very soon plan on enabling software patches on multiple systems at one time in a future release. Now, additionally, we recognize the need to ensure proper security for devices on your network, right? So now you're going to be able to require more robust passwords for Q-SYS cores on your network. This is going to allow IT staff to align passwords with corporate standards. This can include minimum password lengths, special characters, or limiting the number of login attempts, just to name a few items. Now, back when we released Q-SYS Designer version 9.8, we also introduced the idea of UCI variables. So this functionality made it a lot simpler to alter common parameters, such as labels or themes, when duplicating UCIs across an organization. We're actually bringing that capability into Q-SYS Reflect Enterprise Manager, meaning you can now manage your UCI variables without even opening Q-SYS Designer. This can be really useful when you want to change the theme or need to edit a label on the UCI, something like the name of a room or label on a source. This can all be done during runtime, meaning you're changing these variables while your Q-SYS system is still up and running. And similar to the security patches, this will be on a per system basis, but a future release is going to let you make changes to multiple systems at once. And this is Activate, so we do want to tease some more upcoming features. So next year, we'll be looking to introduce improved alerts and notifications. We want to be able to provide support staff with even more control over, what they need or don't need to see. So you're now going to be able to start from scratch, choosing only the notifications you want to receive, rather than starting with everything and then having to work backwards. So this is going to help ensure that support teams really can focus only on the important tasks that ensure systems are running smoothly. And with that, I will send it back to Nate to talk about some new products.
Thank you. All right, yes, a couple of new products to talk about before we wrap up. The first one that I want to discuss is an extension of the QIO series of integrated Q-SYS input-output devices, and these are right behind me. You've got the AES 8x8 and the TEL2. These are providing some functionality and some inputs and outputs for things you may previously have been using I/O cards for if you had those in a core, but now we can decouple that from the core and move that box close to the input or the output where it is required for the geography of the room. The AES 8x8, that is for inputs for AES3 network channels. So if you are using those to bring in things like digital media servers, mixing consoles, if you've got a DAW, wherever you're doing recording and playback for hospitality, entertainment, commercial venues, things like that. And then the TEL2, that gives you a couple of POTS connections on the back of that device, which you can see right behind me. Those are, anytime you're integrating, a PSTN POTS line, if you're doing PBX phone connections, paging systems, things like that, it allows you to get those without having to use the I/O card in the core. Or, maybe you're just in a room that you kind of retrofit it and you don't have the availability to put in a soft phone. This is there for you. These are available at the end of November, and if you check your watches, that's really soon. So these are coming out real quick. All right, we got one more. Patrick, take it away.
Okay, believe it or not, one more product to launch. And it is a personal favorite of mine. If you are familiar with our acoustic design series, our ceiling, one of the biggest requests that we've been getting on our ceiling loudspeakers is, can we get a bezel-less version of those ceiling cans? And the answer today is now yes. So we are coming out with new models for the 4-inch and 6-inch models of our acoustic design. We also are coming out with retrofit accessories that will allow you to put bezel-less collars on the NLC4 and the high power and high output versions of those 6-inch 80s as well. We'll have a full breakout session on this topic, and the product manager, Daniel Sines, will be there to answer additional questions on this topic. I want to thank everybody that was involved in this presentation today for being here. I want to thank you for giving us 52 minutes of your time. And with that, we'll see you in the breakout sessions. Thank you so much for being here. Bye.